Mr. Producer. Boom. All right, so we're back. So now let's take a look at quickly at Bitcoin. We'll go over this, and then we're going to go over the meme coins, okay? What everybody's been waiting for. Okay. So let's go on the lower time frame. Let's go on the daily. Let's prop this up a bit. So here's where we're at with Bitcoin, okay? So we reclaimed the macro range, okay, up top where we distributed. So one of two things are going to happen here. This is what we got to watch for. We're still within the range. We front ran this mid-range, and as we had prophesized, the fixed range volume profile was where? We've had this drawn out for months. For this range, the breakout of this move, the fixed volume, that naked point of control, was right here at 96,300. Well, look what we did. We pumped all the way up into it. We came back down and lost it as support, and now we're starting to puke back down. This was going to be the sticky area that we were talking about, and guess what happened? That's exactly what happened. So who could have foreseen? So what you're going to see now is a pullback. So I'm going to expect one of two things here. Either we pull back into this general cluster right into here, and this is basically where we bounce at, this demand zone, okay? We either bounce right here, or if we lose this level, this demand zone, this price action right here, we're going to come back down to range lows, okay, which is going to be about 91, 92,000. This is where we're going to have to be very cognizant of what's happening. If we lose range low, you're looking at a continuation into a bear market. That's just the reality of the situation. You're going to see something like this. You're going to see this, and then into here, maybe save it a little bit, boom, retest the bull market trend, and then you nuke. It'll be something of that nature, okay? Certainly, we hope that doesn't happen. We're not in the camp that it is going to happen, okay? Here's what we want to see happen. So pay attention to this. So let's say we don't lose the range low. As soon as you reclaim a range, you assume that you're going to hit range highs. But at some point, you're probably going to test range lows. So we come back down. We're likely going to get a pullback into here if this doesn't hold. Okay, if this holds, yeah, we get a continuation up here like that. But if this region right here, this bit of price action, these daily candles don't hold, and we come back down to range lows, this is where you want to be paying attention. Do we bounce and head back up to range high and cycles back on, bull market's back on, it's clear, we're bullish, we're fired the fuck up? Or do we hit this level, maybe bounce a little bit, and then bang into our bull market trend, lose it, retest it, and then come back down? That's what we have to be cognizant of right now. So we must hold this 91.3 range low and hold this bull market trend that we were chopping up on over here before we got this relief bounce, okay? That's where we're at on Bitcoin. Now, granted, everything sticks. We continue our trend. We make another rip up higher, right? Considering that that's the case, what's going to happen to the boys club? Let's take a look. Well, ETH is holding its range as well. That's good. ETH is actually holding up a little bit better than Bitcoin. So we're back in the range reclaim. Let's get this off a log. Yep. We broke the downtrend on ETH. Love that. So let's look at Pepe. Okay. Let's put on the Pepe market cap chart because we want to talk in terms of market cap. Okay, here's the market cap chart. Right now, the market cap on Pepe is 3.33 billion. Okay? This is how we floored out on this chart. ETH is down bad. Altcoins are down bad. Pepe has this beautiful demand zone right in here that we've been playing within. Okay? Every time we kind of tag it, come back into it, this is where we pump off of. Okay? So Pepe, you probably don't see it come back down that much deeper into this demand before we rip it again. So if we're at a 3.3 billion right now, what's it going to take to get us to either new all-time highs or to that $50 billion target? Let's throw some fibs on this thing. If we get ETH just to hit back up to 5,000, the previous cycle all-time highs, that's what's going to get Pepe to break out to new all-time highs. So let's see. Do we have the... Yes, we do. Professional. So let's do... Get rid of that. Fib retracement. MA, we'll get rid of that. Okay. Get rid of this. So I'm going to show you guys how to do the fibs on this. So the fibs on Pepe are going to give us our cycle targets. This is how I'm looking at this. ETH goes to new all-time highs. No, not even, excuse me. ETH goes back up to 5,000. Pepe goes to new all-time highs. Okay, so let's look at this on the weekly, actually. Okay, so here's our range. The range I have drawn out is from the bottom of this wick, where this chart starts, tagging beautifully on the 1.618, just barely getting above it before nuking back down. Clear mid-range here, right? We tag the mid-range here, reject, or excuse me, top of the range there, reject. Lose this part of the top of the range, we got to nuke all the way down, okay? So we already broke out and hit the 1.618 on Pepe. Where's the next fib at then? On a linear scale, the next fib is at 16.5 billion, okay? So here's what I want you to understand. Pepe ripping a 10x from here is not at all out of the question, at all. It's at a 3.3 billion right now. So to get a 10x would be 13.3. So it'd be less than that 2.618 fib. How do we get up there? We just need ETH to get back to last cycle's all-time high. So not 4,100, but 5,000. You see ETH go to 5,000, which is not too much to ask for this cycle. So that means it doesn't even make new all-time highs. You're going to see Pepe up at this 2.618, at least. Okay? That's a 10x from here. I'm trying to put this into perspective for you, for those of you who need to position your portfolios and you're looking to capture the upside on this move. That's a 10x on Pepe from here. 10x on Pepe. If you really believe in ETH outperforming and having an ETH season and it's going up higher than its previous cycle all-time high, then you're going to see Pepe do something more like this. Okay, you're going to see the 1.618 play, which would be 19 billion market cap. Okay. And then the next fib on the log would be 90 billion. Now let's put another set of fibs on here, but no, see, they're backwards. Hold on. I'm going to do it this way. This is going to be the top. Pull this down to the bottom. Let's do this based off of linear. Okay. So this is called fib confluence. Where's our fib confluence? Okay. So there's clearly fib confluence right in this range. Okay. All up in here. This whole cluster makes sense for a target on Pepe. Because you have the linear 2.618 right there at 16.5 billion. You have the logarithmic 1.618 at 19 billion. You have the linear 3.618 at 22.22 billion, and then the 4.236 on the linear at 25 billion. So that right there is huge fib confluence. It's 4 sets of fibs right all in the same area for the next target. So if you get ETH just to go back up to previous cycle all-time highs, which we haven't done this cycle yet, Bitcoin, you got to think about this. Bitcoin has already broken out its previous cycle all-time high. It broke it out of its 4-year reaccumulation range. It's at new all-time highs, up over 2x. ETH never even touched its previous all-time high. It still hasn't even got to its last all-time high. If ETH just gets back to 5,000, the price it was back in 2021, you're going to see Pepe up in this region. So that's going to be well over a 10x from where we're at right now, okay? Well over a 10x, close to a 20x, okay? So that's on a move from ETH back to previous cycle all-time highs. If you get ETH to actually break out and go to 8,000, 9,000, 11,000, 15,000, then that's where you're going to see something similar to the 2.618, that 90 billion play, which is the market cap top on Dogecoin back in 2021. So these targets aren't unrealistic. It's all strictly dependent on, does the S&P continue to move higher the rest of this year? Okay. And does Bitcoin hit new all-time highs again, followed by an ETH season where ETH BTC is outperforming and you're actually seeing a pump there. So that's what I'm looking at on Pepe. I'm looking at Pepe saying, okay, I would expect with the move on ETH back to the previous cycle all-time highs to get new highs on Pepe up in this region, anywhere between 16 and 25 billion. Now, that is a big range to play within, but I would expect at least the 1.618 on the log, the 19 billion, okay? So you're going to see that kind of move on Pepe. Well, if Pepe runs a 10, 12x from this level right here, a 14x, Brett's going to do a 20x, Andy's going to do a 30x, Wolf's going to do a 40x. Not exaggerations at all. That's simply how they play. That's how those assets are going to move. If Pepe moves like that from these levels, that's how those assets will move, because they're simply levered Pepe. Why do we hold Pepe? Why do we hold Brett, Andy, Wolf? Because they're just levered Ethereum plays. It is us betting that Ethereum is going to go up, but as opposed to getting a 2x on Ethereum, let's get a 10x on Pepe. Let's get a 20x on Andy. Let's get a 30x on Wolf. That's the leverage game that you're playing by holding these beta assets, right? So that's where I'm going to see Pepe going.